Good morning, and welcome to the Woodrow Wilson International Center for Scholars. Wilson Center is delighted to welcome Malik Agar Eyre, the governor of the Blue Nile State, and Yasir Said Arman, Secretary General of the Sudan People's Liberation Movement. We regret that Abdulaziz Adam El-Hilu, Deputy Governor of Southern Kordofan, could not be with us because of the forthcoming elections in his state. The Woodrow Wilson Center attaches enormous importance to its work on Sudanese issues. We have a distinguished working group on Sudan, co-chaired by Ambassador Alan Goulty, here with us this morning, the former British ambassador to Sudan and a current senior scholar at the Wilson Center, and Noureddin Sati, the co-chair, a former Sudanese diplomat. It was only a short time ago that Foreign Minister Ali Ahmed Karti of the Republic of Sudan spoke from this podium. I'm Mike Van Dusen, the Executive Vice President of the Woodrow Wilson Center. The Woodrow Wilson Center is the national living memorial honoring the 28th President, Woodrow Wilson. In providing an essential link between the worlds of ideas and public policy, the center addresses current and future challenges confronting the nation and the world. The center promotes policy-relevant research and dialogue to increase understanding and to be instrumental in enhancing the capability and knowledge of leaders, citizens, and institutions worldwide. Created by an act of Congress 43 years ago, the Center is a nonpartisan institution supported by both public and private funds. In seeking to bring a wide spectrum of people together to discuss critical issues of the day, we have a confident hope that from the dialogue on public policy issues, participants can learn from each other. The work of all will be enriched, and better understanding and better policy can emerge. Through close to 800 meetings a year and the presence of over 150 scholars during the course of a year, the Center's work and its scholarship commemorates the ideals and concerns of Woodrow Wilson. The peaceful referendum in January and the overwhelming vote of Southern Sudan was a great achievement. We all offer best wishes to the new state of South Sudan. But before independence, many issues between the North and the South remain to be resolved, and they are absorbing much international attention and effort. One of these issues is Abiay, which the Security Council discussed only a few days ago, and which Secretary General Arman with us this morning. In particular, he knows it very well. We have paid less attention to the problems that will confront the northern wing of the Sudan People's Liberation Movement, cut off from their colleagues in the south. The future of Blue Nile and South Kordofan states, which will remain in the north, are subject to popular consultation, consultations at this time. We look forward to an update from our guests as to how these consultations are progressing. We also hope to hear how the SPLM in the north sees the way ahead after Southern independence. Will it become independent of the SPLM in the south and or make alliances with other parties in the north? Our two guests are uniquely qualified to address these and related questions. Governor Agar and Secretary General Arman, welcome again to the Woodrow Wilson Center. We look forward to a good and healthy discussion. To the audience, thank you very much for being here and for participating. It's my pleasure to turn the podium over to Ambassador Goulty. Thank you. The floor is yours, Alan.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Let me add my welcome to that of Mike Van Dusen to you all, and especially to our guests, two old friends and veterans of the years of negotiating the CPA, who now find themselves in the position of trying to implement some of the more difficult consequences of it. In particular, I want to welcome Yasir Arman, the presidential candidate last year. When I was in Khartoum in March, the talk was of nothing but his successful, or at least his well-received campaigning in places as improbable as Darfur and Dongola. But sadly, he had to withdraw. And we have the pleasure of welcoming him now as the Secretary General of the interim leadership of the northern wing of the SPLM. He has the unique qualification, modestly not mentioned in his biographical note, which you have in front of you, of being intimately related both with Abiay and with President Bashir. Malik Agar was, as you can perhaps imagine from taking a glimpse of him, one of the most forceful of the SPLM leaders at Machakos and Naivasha. And I remember well being told that I could not leave with my wife to the airport on one occasion because I had done something to displease Malik, who had to be placated before I could leave the car park. And as you probably, and I'm sure you will realize, you don't argue with Malik. Now, each of our guests is going to speak for a few minutes. It's on the record, and they have kindly agreed to take questions afterwards. So we look forward, as Mike said, to a very good discussion. Before we start, could I just ask that everybody switch off, and I mean off, not onto silent, their mobile phones and Blackberries and similar devices. So without more ado, I'll ask Malik Agar to address us.
Ladies and gentlemen, Ambassador Alan Goulty, thank you for welcoming us, and also I appreciate your remarks. And I don't remember anyway not preventing you with your wife going to the airport, but anything could happen in Africa, and that was those time of when we met with him. We were not wearing neckties, so we were rebels and citizens of no any country. So. But whatever I said is just, I mean, connected to this time, to those days and uncertain days. Thank you very much once again, and thank you for the attendants who are here now. I will be very brief because for fairness to allow time for questions and counter questions, we have come here in the United States, for obvious reasons. One of them is, of course, the CPA. All of you know that the CPA of 2005 in Sudan, the objectives behind the CPA is to transform the country. It's between two parties. One party wanted to transform the country. The other party wanted to status quo. So the flat game, I mean, the flat area of competition was the CPA itself. So the end game was the transformation. And that could not happen. So the result is that the South has opted for separation. That CPA is, quantitatively has not been implemented, but qualitatively something has happened, very, very little, and opted for the Southern Sudan being independent in the 9th of July 2011, that the two countries will be sovereign states in the Sudan. These two countries, both of them, they need stability, security, and good neighborhood, and to develop their relations, both north and south. And any instability in both of the states spills over to the other states. Northern Sudan, it has been forced into this one with the implementation of the CPA by so many forces and under so many conditions and circumstances. One of them is the rewards of their implementing the peace agreement, and these rewards are embodied in maybe two things or three things: good relations with the U.S. administration, lifting of the sanctions and UN sanctions and the UN and US sanctions, and also good relations with the administration of the state. On the other hand, for the Southerners, the reward for them was having their own independent state. So these are the objectives of both parties, and this is resulted by when the two countries become sovereign, then the Sudan's People Liberation Movement, which was a partner to the National Congress Party due to the comprehensive peace agreement, and they were implementing all these peace agreements together. This movement is going to be divided into two. I mean, it's also in the 9th of July 2011, we'll have two movements, one in the north and one in the south, bearing the same name and the same objectives. What is the principles of these two movements? We are inclined to interested in democracy, human rights, and social justice. And to realize this, of course, there are so many benchmarks and parameters of how to realize this. But the main objectives is a new Sudan agenda, which we think is an international concept of respecting the international principles that democracy, social justice, and this we in the North, as Sudan People Liberation Movement, even though so much of our memberships have opted to go south, but we still command a very reasonable and a very strong presence in the north. We command from the marginalized areas a good number of supporters, and we have two permanent constituencies in the north. This is Nuba Mountains, southern Kordofan, and the Blue Nile area, where we have a governor in the Blue Nile area due to elections and parliamentary members, and this also we have a lot of parliamentary members, about 9 of them in the National Assembly. This also waited in southern Kordofan that they will go for elections soon, and we expect also the gubernatorial to go to the SPLM, and so many number of candidates to go into the parliament. So what we will say is that is we draw our constituencies also from the youth and the women and the disadvantaged people from the other areas of Sudan, and this contains people in Sudan about the policies of the National Islamic Front, that's the National Congress Party. This is in general, the message I wanted to convey is that the SPLM as a party in the north is the second maybe party in terms of reaching out, in terms of having many constituencies and many people in these constituencies. And the dynamics of the politics in the north after the separation of the south is going to change dramatically. The National Congress Party, definitely this is a party which is built on objectives, which is built on ideology, on religious ideology. I mean, it's going to be their right that they are going to be entrenched in Islamic agenda, and they are going to be entrenched in Arabization, and this is very clear in the rhetoric of the president and leaders of the National Congress Party. This creates a lot of discontent in the Sudanese. Northern Sudan is as diverse as Southern Sudan, and as diverse as it is, and there is ethnic diversity in the Sudan, there is religious diversity in the Sudan, there is cultural diversity in the Sudan, and all these things all these diversities needs to be fused together and administered. There is no any party with an agenda, including the National Congress Party, which is the ruling party now, that has an Islamic agenda, could not, mobilize the Sudanese together under one umbrella. So we are offering the chances for the Sudanese as the Sudan's People Liberation Movement that we are calling for a new Sudan that, despite of your religion, despite of your background, that accommodate every Sudanese in his own geographical constituency, ethnic background, and all these things. So we think we are the only viable party that is offering to the Sudanese a chance, an opportunity for reforming of the Sudan democratically, because we value these principles of democracy in the country. And by so doing, we think that the National Congress Party had to change and had to change in so many ways. In our dialogues with the Sudanese parties and the National Congress Party included is that in the coming future, and in this, when these two sovereign countries takes the separation takes place, North Sudan is going to remain there as diverse as it is, and we need to change the old ways of governing this country. First of all, we Sudanese, including all the Sudanese parties, including the civil organizations, that we must agree on a system of ruling the Sudan. That's one, despite who's going to really, this is immaterial, but we need a system of how to rule Sudan. And this has to be embodied in a constitution that we think in the SPLM, we need a wider consultation in writing this new constitution of Sudan, which is embody the diversity and respect the diversity of all the Sudanese. So this is the dynamics of the situation in Sudan. As it will look now, I mean, the perception is that one party is going to be entrenched in their own ideology. The other political parties, including the SPLM, are going to be in opposite direction. So this may create an instability in the Sudan for the time to come. So our objective is, we came here that we dialogue with the people who have mind like that to prevent any instability in Sudan, whether that is political instability, whether that is conflict, there is instability in Sudan. This is on the other hand. On the other hand, there is the two areas. I mean, they call them transitional areas. That's Blue Nile and Southern Kordofan. They were governed by the CPA. They had their own protocol. In the 6th protocol of the CPA, within this protocol, there is a popular consultation, which is less than a referendum in Southern Sudan. It is rectifying the agreement within the parameters of the agreement. And in this juncture, I call all the people to support the popular consultation in the two areas, and this one for the sake of creating stability in the Sudan and stability in the two areas. And this requires new security arrangements in the two areas, because it is an open secret that the two areas had a combatant of more than 40,000 who were part and parcel of the Sudan People's Liberation Army, which is, by the virtue of the separation of the country, becomes the army of Southern Sudan. These combatant servicemen and women of the two areas will revert back to their countries, and this definitely requires a new security arrangement that takes care of their own being and take care of their own political aspirations to the country. So both of them, the security arrangements and the political arrangements of the two areas, they work symbiotically together. But these are contingent upon elections. In the Blue Nile, the elections have already taken place, and much ground has been crossed in the issue of the popular consultation. But in the Nuba Mountains, the elections has not taken place yet. And the elections of the Nuba Mountains at this crucial time are very, very, very important. It's not because who wins it. Who wins it depends upon the campaign and the message and the political message that is happening. But it depends upon the stability of the Sudan when it comes that time. And this one will not be instability in Sudan if the elections in Southern Kordofan are rigged. And there is tendencies for the National Congress Party of rigging these elections. It's started from the registration and also from the constituencies. So this will, of course, those who are following the media, there was a tug of war between the National Congress Party and the SPLM, and the numerical factor of the registration and the way it has been carried out. So we believe the stability lies in carrying out the election in a democratic and fair manner. So this is really we wish that we require the involvement of the communities and the trend of not rigging this one. It needs an intervention from so many circles. The third issue I wanted to also raise is security. There is flash points in Sudan. Nobody in Sudan would want to go to war, because this war is characterized by the longest war in Africa, and the death toll was 2.5 to 3 million persons. This is, I mean, these are valuable lives that has been spent during the war. So we want again to prevent any violence coming. Of course, there is flashpoints that needs an attention, international attention, regional attention, internal attention. This is Abiay, the elections in southern Kordofan, and the popular consultation reserves and implementation. This also needs require to be looked into these areas, and moreover the area of Darfur. Darfur as an area is also there is a war in Darfur, even though the National Congress Party of talking of resolving the issue of Darfur, but they are exaggerating it so much by even calling for more states when the people of Darfur calling for a region. The National Congress Party is now advocating adding more states for the people who are calling for one region. So you can see the contrast, and you see this contest between these people. Therefore, issue, war cannot be resolved militarily. So we are an advocate of peaceful resolution of Darfur, so that it becomes within the parameters of the Sudanese politics and play their politics within the Sudan, rather than having war at their hands. So issue of Darfur is crucial to the stability in Sudan and stability in the region. We have come here for clear messages. One is to brief the constituencies in the U.S. and who are mine-like Sudanese or otherwise, and friends of Sudan and American people and administration, to have an adequate understanding of the situation in Sudan and in Sudan in general. When I talk of Sudan here, I talk of Northern Sudan and both North and South, but my inclination to the would-be country of Northern Sudan. We expect the people and the administration here to support democratic transformation of Northern Sudan for interests of peace and stability. We also expect the same support for the democratic exercise for popular consultation and respect and implementation of the results, because we believe the process of the popular consultation are the only mechanism which is remain after the CPA that could transform Sudan if the two parties strike out a model of governance and a model of a system of governance that respects the values, the international values of human rights, democracy, and meaningful power sharing with the center and the regions. So this is the only opportunities that exist for the Sudanese in the north now to grab on, so that they reach these results. And by doing so, then we envisage peace in the region. This also coupled with a new security arrangements for the two areas. As I mentioned, I alluded earlier that there is combatants in these two areas who are now currently in southern Sudan as SPLM army. These want to go back to their respective areas, and they will never go back peacefully unless they see their political aspirations, their political objectives has been realized in a negotiation with the Khartoum government, so that it couples both with the security arrangements and goes hand in hand with the implementation. We expect the administration, the American administration, to review their policies, definitely on the issues of Sudan, of making relations, fostering relations with Sudan, on plus other issues and plus other political issues that are related to the administration of the U.S. This to be pinned down on the results and transformation of the country, and political and popular consultation in the two areas results, and Abiay, plus the Darfur issue and the relations between North and South. SPLM in the North is the only force. I believe that I also undermine this one is the only force that to be recognized to help in transforming the country, and also help in resolving the issue of Darfur, and help in the popular consultation in the two areas, security arrangements, and also help mending and maintaining the relations between North and South, given their historical background, as one party that is split it into two, as one leadership that has also split it into two. So with this message, I end my speech here, and I say thank you for listening, and we'll be ready to entertain any questions from the floor. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everybody, and thank you, Alan and the Institute, for this important and great opportunity. A lot of have been said by Governor Malik, but I would like to stress and to add into some issues. And I would like to begin with the northern questions. Before and in the last, since 1956, maybe the relations between the North and the South overshadow the northern question, but there is a northern question apart from what is going on between the South and the North. And this question is now more clear than any time before after the secession of the South. And the northern question is similar also to the southern question. The North remain, after the secession of the South, a country of more than 400 different ethnic groups, tribes, call them whatever you may call them, but there are more than 400 different ethnic groups in the North. There are all the religious on heirs in the North. The history of the North goes back to 7,000 years. It is part of the Nile Valley civilizations. The history of the North is the history of diversity. And since 1956, there was, and there is a big question being raised, and this question, it remains unresolved, how the North and how Sudan is going to be ruled. Not who is going to rule Sudan. Sudan is the land of the diversities. The North remains still a small Africa. After the secession of the South, there are a lot of denial that the North is an Arab Islamic state. This is part of the reality. But the reality is that the North represent Africa even without the South, and it will remain a land that will carry the African question, the question of the diversity and the acceptance of the diversity, be religious or ethnic diversity, and how to find a system of rule that could accommodate, reflect, and respect diversity. And as you may have been hearing, in the last, after the secession and after the referendum of the South, the president and other leaders of the National Congress, the president has 19 speeches. In all those 19 speeches, in the 16 of them, he's saying the North now, better than any time before, is going to remain as an Arab Islamic state. And there is no diversity, and we're not going to recognize any other reality or parameters rather than the North is a Muslim and Arab country. This is a partial reality. Arabism and Islamism are important parameters in the North, but they are not alone. There are many other realities. If the National Congress is going to state its course that the North is a Muslims and Arab country without recognizing the other factors, then the North is not heading for stability. The North is heading for instability, and this is what is important. And the question of the North is a question of the center. The problem of the North and the problem of the South and the North is a problem of Khartoum. It is not the problem of Darfur. It is not the question of Southern Sudan. It is not the problem of Eastern Sudan. It is a problem of the policies that emanated from Khartoum and been applied on the other regions of Khartoum. This problem is continuing. It is going to be aggravated. The North need to balance the relations between the different regions and the center. The center has to transform, has to have new policies. That was the end game, and Alan is one of those who contributed to the CBA, knows very well the main question, if you want to keep the unity of Sudan, if you want to keep even the North together with itself, you need to address the questions of having a fair and balanced relations between the center and between the different regions, like what is happening here in United States. There is Washington, D.C., with its own policies, and there is a balanced relation between different states. The different states in the United States, they elect their governors, they have their own policies, and there is a common agenda in the center. This is not there in Sudan. It is the center which interfere in all issues, being small or big. And when it comes to federalism or autonomy, it's just a cosmetics. It is not real. We have been trying through the CBA to bring a new face to the center, but it was not possible. There is a need for a project of real democratization, project of social justice, respect and reflect of the diversity, combating corruption, and building new institutions, because the present institution, it is one party institution. The public, I'm talking about the public institution in the North. They are just being controlled by one political party, which is the National Congress. When it comes to the judiciary is being controlled by the National Congress. Anyone from the National Congress can call the judge and tell him what to do. It's the police, and I have personal experience. And I was the leader of the caucus, of the SPLM caucus, and I have an immunity. I was the leader of the caucus. I have been beaten. I have been taken to the prisons by the police, and some ministers, they have been taken into the prisons by the police. This is a public institution. They have been hijacked by the National Congress. Those public institutions, they have to go back to the Sudanese people. They have to become neutral, democratic, accountable, and transparent. Without that, the North is not going to have stability. The National Congress, they have a chance to accept transformation. They have a chance to participate in change. If they didn't accept that, they will be changed. That is happening all over the neighboring countries. And you have seen it nowadays. Revolution, it is not like when at the time of the French Revolution or other revolution. The time of the French Revolution, maybe in Africa we heard about the French Revolution after 20 years or 30 years. That is the most intellectual African, they heard about it maybe after 50 years. But now revolution is being carried on the TV like watching a football game. And the Sudanese people are not exceptional for that. The CBA did not focus on democratization of the North. It focused more on stability. It been demonstrated beyond doubt that stability without democracy, you are going to lose both stability and democracy. So there is a need, if we need an stability in Northern Sudan, we need democracy as well. When it comes to the question of the SPLM and what is the social base of the SPLM in the North, first of all, as reality, the SPLM now in the North, it is all over the place, in the 15 states. It is in the villages, the towns. I myself, I went to more than 160 different rallies in all over the North, and I have seen and I have witnessed, and the media, and it is public knowledge to Sudanese people that the SPLM is everywhere. It is there to flourish the vision of the new Sudan. It is the only game in town. That is the only vision that can keep the North together, because it is a vision that accepts and reflects the diversity, is looking for democracy, for social justice, That's what the North need. And this one has been also demonstrated many times when Dr. Garang came to Khartoum. Millions of people, they received Dr. Garang in Khartoum when he signed the CBA. And those people, they are the very people who are looking for social justice, for democracy, for the respect of the diversity. Also, in our campaign to organize the SPLM after the death of Dr. Garang, we met tens of thousands of people who joined the SPLM. Again, in my campaign as a presidential candidate, we also meet hundreds of thousands of people everywhere, even in Darfur, at the time when the security tried to prevent them from receiving us. But hundreds, thousands, many of them, they came, they received us, they demonstrate during our campaign of hope and change that people, they are looking forward for change, and they will continue to do that. Again, it has been demonstrated beyond doubt in the North when Governor Malik was elected with a lot of difficulties, with a lot of attempts from the National Congress to rig the elections. But yet, he became the governor of Blue Nile. Blue Nile is not in the south, it is in the north. Now, Abdulaziz Adam al-Hilu enjoy a lot of support, and he is going to win the elections in South Kordofan, no matter what the National Congress will do. And the SPLM is a big force. Despite the rigging of the election, also we have, as of now, more than 8 MPs. One of them is the head of the committee in the present parliament. We believe that the SPLM is a force, and as Malik said, that those who are from the north, they are not Southern Sudanese, who are in the SPLA, in the mother unit in the south, they are more than 40,000. What are you going to do with those soldiers? They are bigger than the Darfurian groups put together. The only way for the National Congress is to accept and to respect the presence of the SPLM, is to look for new security arrangement in the two areas, is to let the elections in Southern Kordofan to go freely and fairly, because in Southern Kordofan is a very special state. It is very sensitive. It's bordering 4 southern Sudan states, and it is the only state that has 2 protocols in the CBA, the Abiay protocol and the popular consultation. So with this sensitive state, we are looking for a free and fair elections, and from Washington here, we again give our message to the National Congress that they should not tamper with elections in Southern Kordofan, and it would be important for the continuation of peace, and it is important for the 2 areas to exit for a permanent peace. In the SPLM, we started delinking ourselves so as to have 2 independent organizations, 2 SPLM in the north and the south. They will be independent politically, organizationally, financially. But we will share the vision. The sharing of the vision is not a crime. So some peoples in Khartoum, they are saying to share the vision is a crime, and they are saying that the vision is the vision that came from a southern Christian, southern Sudanese, Dr. John Garang Dimabur, and it has not to continue in the north. Vision and ideas goes from anywhere to anywhere, like the Green parties in the Europe. They are all over Europe, Christian Democrats. Like the Muslim brothers themselves, they come from Egypt to Sudan to everywhere. What would link the Muslim brothers in all over the Arab world and in Pakistan with each other, and they come to Khartoum, and what would not allow a vision which is coming from a Sudanese intellectual in the height of Dr. John Garang Dimabur, not to be taken seriously by other Sudanese like us. We believe that the SPLM is going to flourish because of many facts in the north. Objectively speaking, after the secession of the south, the north will not remain without a south. There will be a geographical and political south in the north. The south of the north will start by Blue Nile, it is in the north, White Nile, South Kordofan, Northern Kordofan, South Darfur, Sinnar, all those. This is the new south of the north. It is the new geographical south. The populations in the new south, they are having the same concern of the old traditional south. They are looking for the respect of diversity, for democracy, for social justice. And they are going to be a base for those who are looking for a new Sudan, for a new arrangement. There is also a political south in the north. Eastern Sudan is a south politically. They are marginalized, the Bija and the others, the Nubian in the north, and they are part of the SPLM. The Darfur question is a southern question in terms of politics. So these questions has to be addressed, and there is a need for a new constitutional arrangement in the north. And there is a need for restructuring of the north. This is a demand of all the political forces. There is a need to respect the agreement in the two areas. The two areas, as Malik said, represent transitional zone. And he talked about the popular consultations and the security arrangement, but I would like to add one point, that the popular consultation was initially planned to end and to be included in the new constitution. In case of unity, it will be part of the constitution of the whole Sudan. In case of secession, it will be part of the constitution of Northern Sudan. Now the National Congress is making the new constitution, making the preparation without even consulting the very leaders of the two areas. And the popular consultation is going to hang without anchoring into the new constitutional arrangement. And this is dangerous. We need to include the result of popular consultations together with other realities into the new constitution. Not only that, the popular consultation should be a model to resolve the other problem in different states in the north. Then when it comes to Darfur, I believe what is going on in Darfur right now will not lead to a solution. The policy of the National Congress right now in Darfur is a policy based on security solution, on military solution, and they went as far as trying to divide different states in Darfur and creating new state from 3 to 5 on an ethnic basis, which is going to fuel the conflict between the Darfurian tribes. And this has to stop. If the Darfurian, there is a need for new state, it should be on objective administrative criteria. It should not be based on dividing Darfurian ethnically. Also, the National Congress is now talking about domestications of the solutions, that the solution should come from within Sudan, not from outside. And they are going as far as telling people that they are going to make a referendum on whether Darfurian, they want one region or two regions. How could they make a referendum while they do not while they do not give a solution to the war? You cannot make a referendum while the war is going on in Darfur. They need to reach a peaceful solution, and then the referendum should come as part of the agreement that will lead to the peaceful solution. The National Congress are trying to create an agreement between themselves. They are dialoguing with themselves. They have to dialogue with their enemies. You need peace with your enemies, with your opponent, not with yourself. This is very clear, and is a fact of life. I believe that Darfur need a comprehensive solutions. I believe also there is a big question of how to bring South and Northern Sudan into a strategic relations, how to create two stable state in the north and in the south, how Southern Sudan can depend on certain issues on the north, and the north will also depend on the south when it comes to certain areas. Without going into the details, the need to create two viable states in the north and in the south, it depends on changing the policies of Khartoum. If the policies of arming the militias and the policy of creating instability, whether in the south or in the north, it will not work. We need to have two stable states that share core values, and this will not be, we will not be able to do it without having transformation, without respecting and the result of the referendum in the south. In any case, the north need a new constitutional arrangement, and when it comes to the present situation in the north, there is a lot of human rights violations. Recently, there are more than 400 young guys being arrested. Some of them, they were tortured. Among them are some leaders from the SPLM North, the Secretary General of Women League, one lady from the executive, the deputy chairperson of the Youth League was tortured, and he gave it a testimony to many international organizations. Ali Muhammad Usman, the torture and the arbitrary arrest has to stop in the north. The north has to democratize, and I would like to repeat what Malik said when it comes to our visit to the United States. What do you want from the United States peoples and administrations? We think that normalization between Khartoum and Washington, it should come through a democratic transformation, and it should lead to a democratic transformation. It should support the cause of democratic transformation and comprehensive peace in the north and peace between the north and the south. This is important, and we are looking also forward for a free and fair election in Southern Kordofan. Failing to have a free and fair elections will lead South Kordofan. It will not exit to permanent peace, it will exit to war. And this is what we want all of us to prevent. Also, we are looking forward from the United States to support a new constitutional arrangement in the north and to create a viable state in the north that respects human rights and that respects diversity. And we are looking forward also to get a support in our call for the popular consultations to be added to the new constitution, and the result of the popular consultation to be respected. And we are also looking for a comprehensive solution for Darfur. Without resolving the question of Darfur, the North will not enter into stability, and it will not lead us anywhere. It will only lead to more wars in the North. I believe people who advocate the stability on the expense of democracy, they will end losing both stability and democracy. That is that is a lesson from Egypt, from Libya, from Tunisia, from different countries around Sudan. Lastly, I would like to say that despite the difficulties of Sudan, I believe the vision of the new Sudan is going to be revisited by everybody in the north and in the south. South Sudan, to build a viable state, you need to have social justice, democracy, respect of diversity. It is the same in the north, and I believe Dr. Garang will be revisited once and more in the north and in the south. And the SPLM in the north and the south, we are a Pan-Africanist movement that that believes in the unity of Africa, and I believe we will work for the unity of Sudan, whether a unity of two independent states or a confederal arrangement between the North and the South and maybe other countries in the region. We will continue to dream of a unity of the whole continent, a unity of Africa. This is part of our discourse, and we will continue working to realize that, and thank you very much.
I think partly perhaps thanks to the effort of Ezekiel Gatquat and his team, we've been inclined in this town to focus very much on the southern Sudan, the important referendum and the prospect of a new state. And today our speakers have reminded us that we're looking at two new states and have given us a very clear exposition of the challenges facing the North and what they are seeking by way of American help. So I'm sure there will be many questions, and we have got a little time for those. Could I ask that anyone wishing to put a question should state his or her name and affiliation and wait for the microphones which are being provided from either side of the room. There's a gentleman right at the back.
Good morning, Alan. This is Salman from the World Bank, a former lawyer with the World Bank.
I couldn't recognize you at this distance.
I thought so. Currently, I'm a consultant and researcher on water law and policy. Welcome, Malik and Yasir. When the SPLM was established in 1983, we all recall the vision for the new Sudan and unified Sudan. And that was later on resonated very well, as Yasir Arman mentioned, in all the rallies that he mentioned, about 160 rallies. The CPA, the Comprehensive Peace Agreement, clearly recognized the application of the Sharia in the north and the non-application in the south, with a special status for Khartoum. However, this very same reason was later mentioned as the main reason for the SPLM opting for secession and the near unanimous vote for secession in the south. The question is that I have now is, we have the same environment now, we have the same situation in the north, and are we now seeing the seeds of secession of Blue Nile and Southern Kordofan being sowed because of the same environment, the same reasons? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Suleiman from the World Bank. Yes, the vision of the new Sudan was SPLM is a new Sudan, but on a new basis. This has to be underlined that this new basis is creating the Sudan, which was not religiously inclined or ethnically inclined. It was a broader Sudan that accommodative to anybody else, and the CPA objectives is to transform this Sudan to the Sudan that we are talking about. But within the course of implementation, the 6 years, both parties have failed to reach that objectives of transforming Sudan. On the contrary, instead of transforming Sudan, the National Congress Party emerged stronger, using the apparatus of the country and the security to, this is a party that exists on manipulation, and it's a party that exists on using, it's not a party actually, it's a department of the state, using whatever in the state for their own survival. So they have developed that capacity of using the state. They have used the state for the last 20 years to stay. So the choice, the only choice remains, since the Southerners had the opportunity to have their own democratic country on their own principles and values, international values, they opted for that. Then, what's the part of the remaining Sudan? Sudan is not going to be divided into two countries, as is being said by the president. That's Arab country and an African country. Sudan will remain always an African country. Sudan has the same diversity and the same south. Yasir spoke about that's the two areas, the Blue Nile and the southern Kordofan, these were part of the theater of the military operations. They had their own armies, they had their own leadership, they had their own objectives. They didn't fight for the separation of the southern Sudan, but they fight for their own political objectives. These political objectives has already matched with the SPLM objectives, that's the democratization and transformation of the whole Sudan. We will continue as an SPLM in the north, despite the geographical locations within all the northern state, to value and work for the democratic transformation of the country that we could not do when South were there. We are not saying South went and we remain a minority. We will try to do that one, because what we are calling for, it has nothing to do with the religion. It has nothing to do with the religion. It has nothing to do with the political Islam. Religion and Christianity or religion, these are for reforming the nations, reforming the people, and they have their own values, which is also match with the international values. There's no problem with that. But when you use either religion in politics, then it becomes the problem. Now, the system still remains in power. The demand for the transformation still goes on. I'm not saying the seats of secession for these two areas, but it depends upon the circumstances of the politics in Sudan. Before secession, there's so many challenges and there's so many opportunities. One of these challenges is accommodative constitution, accommodative system of governance to these areas, the restructuring of the relation between the center and between the peripheries and between these states. These are all opportunities that could cement Sudan together. But you also have the other forces that can pull the Sudan apart. If you continue trying to rule Sudan on one ethnicity, on one culture, on one religion, when it is diverse. So these problems are there. So what I'm saying is we are at the crossroads. The crossroads is that anything could happen within this crossroads. And our history is full of these issues. Khartoum is famous by agreements that they dishonor. And the people in the margin, they are also knowledgeable of the attitude of Khartoum. So we'll all wait to see if that will be the discourse at the end of the day. As it happened in the south, then we will respect it. But we will work together, all of us, for the unity of the remaining Sudan. I repeat, for the unity of the remaining Sudan. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think we might try and bunch a few questions if we can, and then ask our speakers to answer those of them they fancy. There's a lady in the front, and then a gentleman in the back, and another gentleman in the middle.
Hi, my name is Maria Posey. I'm with the UN Information Center, and I wanted the speakers to talk about Abiay, because as early or as recent as this morning, the reports about troops mounting there, tension building, violent clashes. So that's my one question, what your position is on that region and where a border might work and resources be divided in that contentious region. And then my other question is with UN peacekeepers, because they are not able to operate freely in the north, in Darfur. They are constantly being prevented from doing their job. They're being attacked. And so I wanted you to speak out to that effect, what role you see peacekeepers having in the building of a future Northern Sudan. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for being brief. There's a gentleman.
Thank you very much. Lawrence Freeman from Executive Intelligence Review African Desk. I was not in favor of the separation of Sudan because I didn't think it would solve any underlying problems, and I don't think it has. I think that there is a basis for unity, though, now that the separation has taken place, and I think it has to be based on the interest of all Sudanese. And if you look at the economic crisis, and I was in Khartoum last month and I saw the hyperinflation there, this is the essential problem of which North and South have to work together. There has to be development around water, power, and production of food. Conditions in the South are terrible, and the two countries have to work together to actually, in the interest, common interest of all people. I don't think just attacking Northern Sudan, the NCP, all morning is going to bring us to that point. We have to be much bigger and better than that. And I wanted to ask you, in terms of the conflicts in the South, Pagan Amun now has put himself forward as, I don't know how to call it, more than iconoclastic. He now claims that there was a document from the government and from Bashir to overthrow the South, replace it. I've seen no evidence of this. If there is evidence, I'd like to see it. And how does that help the future of Sudan to have someone blaming everything in the South on the North and a document that nobody has seen? Thank you very much.
We'll take a last question there, please.
Bernard Londoni with iJet Intelligent Risk Systems. Again, my question is related to the Abiay area. Today we have different narratives with regard to Abiay. There are people who think that there is oil in that part of Sudan, and that could be some, there would be some complication if Abiay should choose to go to join the South or the North. And then there are other people who believe that it is more ethnic than just the oil. So I just wanted to hear your argument. If Abiay has to join either the South or the North, does it have to do with oil, or it's just ethnic problems?
Thank you very much. Could I ask Yasir to start on Abiay, perhaps, and anything else he wants to pick up?
Well, I had want to focus on the North, and that was the intention of our coming here, that there is a northern question, and there is a southern question. There is many issues between the North and the South. And therefore, I'm not going to go into a lot of details of the question that were asked about the involvement of Khartoum into a muddling into the issues of the South. And I will only tell one thing: if what Fagan is saying is not true, and if there is no evidence, let us have an international body to investigate on whatever Fagan is saying or the National Congress is saying. That is the best way. There is a mechanism, there is United Nations, there is Security Council. Why don't the international community form a body to go and investigate what is really taking place in South Sudan? It is not Fagan alone, it is Salva Kiir, who is with the president and chairman of the SPLM, the president of South Sudan. There is a serious situation. The referendum did not come as a gift from Khartoum. The referendum came after a bitter struggle of the people of South Sudan. It came as it came peacefully because of three main factors. One, that the SPLM kept united during the last 6 years, despite all attempts to undermine the SPLM. And it came as a result of the pressure from inside and outside Sudan by the international community. And it came as a result of the South-South dialogue. In the last 2 months before the referendum, I believe there are some guys in Khartoum, they are not happy with the result of the referendum. They are doing a lot of things to undermine the result. The only way to resolve it, there is the grantor of the peace agreement. United States is one of them. There is a Troika, there is United Nations. Why don't we investigate what is going on right now in South Sudan? And after that, we give the blame where it belongs. If the allegation of the SPLM has no evidence, the government of South Sudan, the SPLM, I believe they will take the blame of what they are saying. And if there is somebody tampering and meddling into the situation of South Sudan, has to be exposed and it has to be stopped. When it comes to the situation in Abiay, if Abiay remains a big issue, we have a very short time. I believe the issue of Abiay has to be resolved on the basis of the CBA, But I also believe equally that the relation between the North and the South, South Sudan will not be south of Brazil. Northern Sudan will not be the north of Afghanistan. We will remain together. We need to have a joint viable project. And there is a need for Khartoum to transform its policies towards its own peoples in the north and towards the south. There is a building up in the area. It is known, and there is an effort to stop that. There is a concern, wide concern. Recently, as Alan mentioned, there is a meeting of the Security Council on Abiay and other issues. We are looking for peace. We believe all effort should be exerted to stop any confrontation in Abiay area. And Abiay has to remain at the point that will link North and the South together. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Malik, that I think leaves you, UN peacekeepers. Do you want them in Blue Nile? And the suggestion that the economic factors are keeping or should keep North and South together. Would you agree with that?
Thank you, Alan. I would also want to touch on Abiay, but from a different perspective, is that because the issue, whether the issue is oil or ethnicity. Let me put these narratives also. The Sudan is dependent upon oil. Upon oil production and oil industry. This oil is 80% in southern Sudan. And within this 30% of oil in southern Sudan, it's believed that Abiay is harboring 173 wells, which are active now in terms of producing oil. And the economy of the two countries, north and south, is depending upon the oil. By the cessation of the two states being sovereign country, there has to be new administrative setup of regulations and laws that are going to govern this mood of economy, both in South and in Sudan. And definitely there is some sort of effect which is going to affect both economics in South and North. And now in the North, and you can see it's visible that the economy is crashing in a way or another. And in the South also, if things doesn't go well, it may crash. I'm not an economist, but this is what we see on the street. So on these narratives, I will leave the judgment to you whether the issue is oil or whether the issue of what is happening in Abiay is ethnicity. But there is a conflict going there. There is a military build-up there. There is a use of ethnicity going up there. But the real reality is exactly known. So these narratives may help you. The second issue is the issue of economics. Yes, definitely. The both states, North and South, are going to be affected by the separation of the two states in terms of economy. Both states has not developed sufficient capacity to stand without the oil industry. They are 100% dependent on oil or whatever it is. Whatever affects the oil industry, both North and South, is definitely going to impact negatively on the economy of the two states. And in the same token, it will spread to other aspects of lives in Sudan. So we are in a very difficult situation, and the two countries has to look critically on their economic relations. What do they do? How do they keep this economy together? They need each other in terms of economy. They need each other in terms of security. So the allegations of Pagan, these are not allegations of Pagan real, these are allegations of the government of Southern Sudan, because Pagan is not an individual, he's not an institution. He is a person who was representing the government of Southern Sudan. So the allegations, as Yasir put it, are subject to investigation and subject for verification. And when that time comes, we will exactly know what is happening. But two states should refrain really from destabilizing each other, because the stability of the North is definitely going to spill over to the South and the vice versa. The issue of the UN peacekeeping forces, and of course, you put it rightly that they were not given considerable freedom to move in the areas of South. This is due sometimes to the interpretation of the CPA itself, that's the ceasefire zone areas. But again, with these difficulties, they had done a remarkable job in Sudan for the last 6 years in monitoring and keeping the peace in Sudan. We envisage really with the implementation of the results of the popular consultation, if we reach that bridge, this popular consultation results and the new security arrangements for the Sudan would require monitoring. And really, we are advocate of a presence of a UN peacekeeping forces. Maybe depends upon a level that will be required, whether it is only for the two areas, whether for the Sudan whole. This will be governed by the level of their operation in Sudan. But presence of this credible body in Sudan is required the time to come, because that will not be the end of the ceasefire, because popular consultation will bring about a new revised ceasefire for the two areas, will bring about new security arrangements for the two areas, and will bring about, methods of transformation of the Sudan in terms of democracy, in terms of human rights, and these need to be observed. So we are advocate of presence of the UN in any level that is appropriate to the task that is going to be allotted to them at that time. About the unity of the Sudanese, of course, we lost that chance. That's a human error, and human errors could be corrected. It's not a God-made error. It is by design that South of Sudan has seceded because of policies, and if these policies, as Yasir put it, we can have some form of cooperation, some sort of economic ties, some sort of ethnicity ties, cultural ties, which will bring confederal arrangements between these two different states. So we still hope for that one. I, for one, am an advocate of unity of the Sudanese, but that is maybe I'm still building the bridge in the Kwai River, so that I'm not sure whether the king will allow me to continue the war or not. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Jason in the middle. There's a lady we've been waiting patiently right at the very, very back.
Hi, Jason Mattis.
Better go to this side after that.
With AECOM. Quickly, two questions. One, there's a discussion about the North becoming 5 or 6 regions, and just wanted your opinion on that. And the second is that there's obviously pressure for the government to move to agriculture to compensate for the loss of oil revenue, or the anticipated loss of oil revenue. This happening without land reform in the North. I thought just some points to hear from you on that. Thank you.
Thank you. There is a lady right at the back.
Sorry, yeah. Thank you. Limni Conglom, I'm with NDI, National Democratic Institute for International Affairs. I had a question about Southerners that are currently in the North. There's obviously hundreds of thousands. Many of them are currently returning, but there's several who will still stay. If you can give us an update on the status of the citizenship agreement, and where the parties are in that regards. But then also post-July, despite this population's legal status, what will the SPLM's method of engagement in ensuring their political participation and representation be in the North?
Thank you. And there's one more. Yes, sir.
Good morning, Ibrahim Al-Haj, Stray University faculty. My question to Commander Yasir. The CPA was meant, when it was signed, to dismantle democratically the Congress party, party government in the North, little by little. But for some reason, under the resistance of the Congress party, many issues has not been implemented. Many issues of the democratic transformation was not established. A lot of people are calling for popular uprising to turn out the government right now, and we still believe that under Sudan current situation, where weapons are available under many organizations and hands, that could be dangerous. What you're thinking about the best way that people can go to change the current situation right now in Sudan? Thank you.
Yasir, do you want to take that first?
Well, let me take some of them quickly. Guys, on the issue of the North to be 5 regions or 6 or 20, that is not going to resolve the problem unless there is a real transformation in the center, unless there is a new policies, and unless whatever autonomy we are going to get out of 5 region or 6 or 20 is going to be respected, it is going to be viable, there is a resources for that. Otherwise, it is not a matter of the form, how many regions you have. And this is even creating a big bureaucracy, is satisfying the elites on the expense of the poor segments of the populations, giving bribes to the elites for a lot of jobs, constitutional job, without addressing the very issues of the ordinary citizens of those regions. So I believe there is a need for all Sudanese political forces, civil societies to sit together, including the National Congress, to determine how Sudan is going to be ruled. It is not a prerogative of the National Congress alone. The National Congress does not mean the North. The North is bigger than the National Congress. The National Congress is one actor. They should not surprise everybody and come every morning and saying, therefore, we need 5 states. Here, we need 20. This will not work. What will work, you need to respect the Sudanese people in the North, to look for a mechanism like a constitutional conference. People, they debate the issues of the North, and then as a result, they can come with whatever system of governance for the North. But this, it should be based on national consensus. It should not be based only on the wishes of the National Congress, or when they find a problem with these tribes, they want to create a new state for the other tribes to balance the situation, divide and rule. This wouldn't work. I don't believe in it. I believe in for us all to come and sit and to discuss the substance and to get out with the national consensus. The other issue, which is very important, Linda raised about the citizenship, and we have been working on this, on the peaceful coexistence and the issue of the citizenship for Northern Sudanese in the south and Southern Sudanese in the north. And this is a very painful issue. And I remember a guy called Simon Mayen-Tut from the Nuer at the morning of the referendum. He is 100 years old, and he went and cast his vote in Malakal. And he only speaks Nuer, his mother tongue. And he was saying that I voted for the independence of South Sudan, but I have only one advice. You guys in the north and the south, leave Southern Sudanese to live in the north and Northern Sudanese to live in the south. This is a wisdom of 100 years. It's a wisdom of a century. But this wisdom is not in the mind of the government. In Khartoum, I believe you have been reading a lot of rhetoric that led to thousands of Southern Sudanese to flee the north. To me, the presence of Southern Sudanese in the north is the most valuable commodity ever the relations between the north and the south could have, because they are organic link. If the United States, the big United States, in the lottery and with all means is bringing people from outside to become the citizens of this country. What about the North and the South, those two poor countries? How they could not allow the citizens of the South to remain in the North and the citizens of the North? Actually, many of the Southern Sudanese in the North, they are Northern Sudanese. Their origin from the South. The way this issue has been tackled, and up to now, President Mbeki, who is coming from the era of the apartheid and who is very mindful about this issue, pleaded with the National Congress to accept, to give the options of citizenship to whoever in the North or the South to decide whether you want to become a Northern citizen or a Southern citizen. This option has to be given. It is a human rights issue. It is an issue that will keep the North and the South together, because those citizens, they will be an organic link. They are the one who could reunite Sudan again. They are the one who can establish link on all levels, business, human relations, politics. That's what we really want. The SPLM position is very clear. We are for everybody in the North and the South to be given the right to choose whether you want to become a Northern Sudanese or a Southern Sudanese. And I believe this is a human rights issues. All human rights advocates should stand on the line that the option should be given to everybody. When it comes to Dr. Ibrahim about the demonstration, first of all, the right for peaceful demonstration is a constitutional right. Nobody has the right to prevent people from expressing their views, whether this is going to lead for change or not. If it is going to lead for change, it is a constitutional change, because it is in the constitution of Sudan. Whether you are asking me, Sudan has a lot of arms, and if people go to demonstration, what will happen? This question is not my question, really. It's a question of the National Congress. The National Congress has to choose. It's either to change the present situation because it is not working, or they will be changed. There is no way apart from that. You cannot remain for 20 years in power doing the same business you are doing the time you came the first day. Sudanese people, they have clear demands. They need transformation, they need democracy, they need social justice. The National Congress themselves, they are agreeing that there are a lot of corruption, there are a lot of mistakes. Those mistakes have to be corrected. They will only be corrected when there is a dialogue. Preventing the dialogue, to extend even saying that the SPLM will not be there in the North. And the SPLM is a constitutional organization, that it is headquarters in Khartoum. It's been registered in Khartoum. And then arresting the other opposition leaders without taking them to court, without giving a clear accusation. And the constitution and the law, the security law, is saying that you should not keep anybody more than 45 days. People like Dr. Turabi now, they exceeded 45 days, and nobody is saying anything. This is a violation to the constitution. It is he's a citizen of that country, Dr. Turabi. His human rights has to be preserved, because if I accept that because I'm angry with Dr. Turabi, I had to violate his right, then the right of everybody will be violated. We need to have a rule of law in Khartoum. The world is changing, and the neighboring hood is changing. So we have to respect the will of the Sudanese people. The National Congress can do that if they want. If they didn't want, then change is inevitable. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Malik, you probably want to add to some of that. I wonder if you could answer a supplementary question from me, which is that if SPLM policy is that every Sudanese should have the right to choose whether to take northern or southern citizenship, does that rule out the possibility of dual citizenship, for example, for those who have one parent from the north and one from the south?
Thank you once again, Alan. Yes, the issue of let me tackle the question of Jason about the move to the agriculture, and this is connected with the issues of land reform in Sudan. Of course, land problem in Sudan is very crucial, and you recall that in the CPA. We failed to agree on anything concerning land. We already agreed on the distribution of the wealth and the land, and we made the land to be for the hands of the citizens of the particular area. The land issue was supposed to be tackled by establishing land commission in the center and then in the two areas to address issues of land. This has not been realized up to now. The National Land Commission has not established. The two areas land commission has not established. Still, land is a very sensitive issue. Surely there is some sort of move to the agricultural sector. They have this agricultural revitalization project, which is bodying millions, and that are going to be put in these issues. But again, this will be hindered by the issues of land. You have correctly put it, and this has to be also addressed. The issue of citizenship. This it should not be a complicated issue, really. I mean, it could have been a national issue and a human rights issue that any Sudanese who want to choose, it's a choice, really, who want to stay in Southern Sudan should be allowed to do so. Who wants to stay in Northern Sudan, or those who have dual citizenship. This is supposed to be happening. But it's very strange that the National Congress in the North has opted for not allowing dual citizenship and even the citizenship of the people in the North. This is very, very strange to us, but I wouldn't want to prejudice that one, because dialogue and discussions are still going on. It's one of the issues, the package of the post-referendum issues that are being discussed by the two parties now. I hope that they will reach a conclusion on this one in that respects human rights. It's very strange when you talk about you don't want Southerners in the North, but when it comes to the issue of the oil, then you want to divide the oil of the South. It's something really very, very strange. It's a mind-boggling anyway. So this, I think they will settle it in the coming talks in Addis Ababa now between the two parties. The issue, Ibrahim Al-Haj, the CPA was not to dismantle the National Congress Party. The CPA was to transform Sudan, irrespective which party is ruling. That is the SPLM or the National Congress Party. What we want to transform is we come to a consented, agreed system of governance in Sudan that is accommodative to anybody else. This could not happen. So South opted for suppression. The issue of popular uprisings and the availability of weapons in the country, I don't think the weapons in Sudan are more than the one in Libya, or I don't think the grip of security is more stronger than the one in Egypt. When people come to the peak of their tolerance, they can match weapons and tanks by their bare-handed. That's not an issue. That's not a big issue if people opted for change. The best way to change the system in Khartoum, there's so many ways. My friends here who were colonizing us, they told us there is 101 ways of skinning the cat. So they taught us so many ways of skinning the cat. There's so many ways of making the change. One of them is dialogue between the system. And I believe the National Congress Party has better chances ever had in its life with these winds of change in the world and the open dialogue. And the Sudanese forces, political forces, are open for dialogue. They are asking for this dialogue. The ball is in the hands of is in the square of the National Congress Party, whether they want to reform or whether they want to come up the dialogue with the political forces. This time around, they have the better chance for them to reform and stay on power on a reformatory way, in a change manner, in a change system. They can do that if they want. And also if they opt to continue the old ways, of course everything has a limit. and I don't know when that limits come, and I don't have any particular way of how to change the system. I have not thought of it anyway, but I've thought of the transformation. When I think of the change, I will also tell you my version of how do we do it. There is a chance for transformation in Sudan, and I'm advocate of transformation in the Sudan. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have time for one more round of questions, maybe even two if people are very quick. There's a lady at the back who's been waiting, gentleman here on the right-hand side, and another gentleman in the middle.
Good morning. Your Excellencies, thank you so much. There is a dearth of information about what is happening in the north. There's a wealth of it about the south, so it's great to have you here and hear your perspective. My question relates to what you are just speaking about, which is the need for dialogue. So my question to you is your response or ideas about how that can happen and who should lead it. For example, what is the role of the international community, and what multilateral and bilateral institutions should be involved outside of the US that the NCP could actually be open to? And the second is, what is the role of the other parties? And third is, what is the role of civil society? What can those kind of three tiers do to encourage that dialogue? Thank you.
Thank you. There was somebody there, a gentleman in the fourth row.
Thank you. E.J. Hogener with the International Crisis Group, and I have two quick questions, one for Mr. Arman. And the question is, what is Plan B for the SPLM North if, in fact, as I'm understanding it, you're looking for some kind of influence in the constitutional review process? I mean, what happens if the NCP basically says, well, we're going to dictate what the Constitution looks? Does the NCP, does the SPLM then form itself as an opposition party and try to win the polls in the next coming elections, or are there other options that are being discussed by the party? And then, somewhat similarly to Governor Malik Agar, could the governors perhaps form a counterweight to power in Khartoum? I understand that there have been a number of governors who've been acting somewhat more independently of the center, and is there a possibility that they could form a counterweight or a coalition that does try to push Khartoum to spread some of the power from the center to the peripheries? Thank you.
Thank you. And then there was a gentleman in the fifth row.
My name is Adil Saleh. Quick questions. As byproduct of the CBA, the North be left with the Islamic State. My question is the SPLM will continue supporting the Islamic State in the North, or you're going to fight for the secular state? Thank you.
Thank you. And just behind you, Derek, there's a gentleman who's been really anxious to put his question. Briefly, please, sir, because we're running out of time.
Thank you very much. I appreciate all of you coming here.
Could you say who you are, please?
My name is Majir Majush. I am originally from Sudan, and I'm glad to come to this meeting here. My question is to Dr. Malik Agar. First question is that how soon is the popular consultation? How soon are we going to consult Nuba Mountain and Blue Nile? Because when the South was fighting the North, Nuba Mountain were being killed with us by the Khartoum government. So that's you answered that for me. And also to Yasir Arman, the Abiay issue has become a deadlock. It's supposed to be simultaneously. Voting should have happened within the same way the CPA has indicated it, because majority of the Abiay people are urgent from the south, and it has not happened. So do you, Yasir Arman, think that this will bring a civil war again between the south and the north, since the Khartoum government don't want to allow it, even if they have taken some part of the Abiay to the north when they went to Hague last time? do you think that this will not bring a civil war between the North again if the Khartoum government don't accept to let Abiy go free?
Thank you very much. Governor Malik, we'll give you first go this time.
Yeah, as I alluded earlier, that there is a need for dialogue. Yes, the dialogue. The question is who's going to lead it. I believe all the Sudanese forces and the civil organizations were leading it, each on their own level, and together they are also forming a coalition that they are leading this dialogue with the National Congress Party. And there is a lot of ground has been covered in this one. Irrespective of whether there is success in it or not, but there is a dialogue going on this area of reform and of putting forward the views of these political parties about the Sudan and all this. This will connect me with the Plan B about the Constitution if the National Congress Party go ahead and rise the Constitution without wider consultation of the Sudanese people and the Sudanese forces and Sudanese civil organizations. As I alluded earlier, the National Congress Party have the better chance ever it had in their own time of governance. To have this dialogue and reform their way and the system of governance in the Sudan. The wisdom tells me that they shouldn't do it alone. They shouldn't take it all alone unless they think that they are sufficiently strong enough to do that one. But I believe if they examine themselves, their strengths, well, they are not that sufficiently strong enough to do it alone, so they will have to consult others to do this one. So we will keep our Plan B till we know that, till the time comes that they go it alone. In Africa, you don't expose your bottom line, so we'll keep that for some time so that we don't expose our Plan B. But let me see, I'm not envisaging, my instinct tells me that they shouldn't do it alone, and they shouldn't go it alone, and they should consult others on this. The governance forum, or the governor. Let me say it, whatever it be, it's going to be interpreted. There is no elected governors in Sudan. I may be the only elected governor, but most of the governors are appointed in a way or another. So the results of their elections is predetermined. So any governor who's there, he's for his own seat. It's not for the people, because these are the people who are brought in by the system, using the elections as a system of bringing people whom do they want. So it's a predetermined results of governance. So I don't believe, and I don't see a governor who's not elected by the people and who's appointed by the government to oppose the system that has appointed him and that he knows has a power that can remove him. So I'm the only governor who's elected, and my base and respect goes to the people, not to the system. I work within the system, respecting the laws and the regulations in the system, but I'm brought in the system by the people, not appointed by the government. Yes, I give an oath of allegiance to the to the president on behalf of the people, those who also presume have elected him. So I don't think the governors, appointed governors, are going to do anything else. Ali Saleh about the Islamic State in the north, whether the SPLM is going to continue supporting the Islamic State in the north. We have never been supporting them. When the SPLM came in to transform the country by an agreement of transformation, and we agreed on a partnership of implementing that agreement, not on a partnership against others, not on a partnership of supporting the agenda of the Islamic of the Islamic movement. We have come with our own agenda. We wanted both to fuse both the agendas of the National Islamic Front and the agendas of the SPLM together, because we are coming from a different planet. I mean, the National Islamic Front is coming from a very, very chaotic right, and we are coming from moderate left. So, so we met in the middle. So we are coming with a different boats, but we made in the same ocean, and we wanted also to operate within that same ocean. To bring about a new Sudan on a new basis. So we were never supporting them. The issue of Majer about how soon, this depends upon, in Nuba Mountains, it depends upon when will the elections results come out and how will they come out. In the Blue Nile, we have covered a lot of ground, and we have already got the opinions of the people of the Blue Nile. And the opinions of the people are very clear about the Blue Nile area. What do they want in terms of system of governance? They have already spelled it clearly in terms of power sharing. They have already spelled it very clearly in terms of wealth sharing. They have already spelled it very clearly. It is now this to be negotiated with Khartoum government and then embodied in the new agreement that will be implemented in the two areas in the future. So we appreciate your concern. These people, we were part of the whole movement that also been operating in Southern Sudan, and I know your concerns about it, about your comrades and your brothers, and we will always keep appreciating that concern. It's not you alone. All the people in the South are concerned about the two areas, and we are also concerned about the future. We are interlocked together politically, ethnically in the future, and for the future we'll always be together with the South. Maybe geographically we are separated, but we are so much interlocked in a way that it's going to be very difficult politically or ethnically or culturally to be separated. So I appreciate your concern and concern of anybody from the South Sudan. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yasir, that gives you, I think, 2.5 minutes to wind up.
Well, I believe in the issue of dialogue, the Sudanese have been dialoguing for years since independence, and we have many great opportunities that were lost, among them the Round Table Conference and others. And the mechanism to have a dialogue, there is an idea, old idea. It is agreed to by most of the political forces and civil societies to have a constitutional conference whereby we will go to the drawing board and we see how all of us we can agree on a national project of how to rule Sudan. And then after that we can go for election. For the United States, I believe it has a big role. United States, I believe it is in their interest to reach out for the democratic forces and to support the democratic forces and to support the transformation of Sudan. Instead of rewarding the National Congress of doing nothing, of continuing the same road that led to the separation of the South, it will lead to the secession of Darfur or Blue Nile or anywhere. It will lead to, it is a road of misery. It is not going to lead to any something productive. So it is I believe all those who are concerned of democracy, of the equal right of citizenship, they should reward the National Congress if the National Congress want to go in the road of new constitutional arrangement, not keeping it is power without transformation. Is my 2 minutes finished? Or
You have one last thought?
Yeah, Majer, I believe Abiay should not lead to war. Nobody wants war. We have been in war for long. We need peace to our country. I believe Abiay is going to be resolved. Despite the rhetoric we are seeing from the National Congress, we should stay the cause, and the people of goodwill inside Sudan and outside Sudan, putting our effort together, we will reach a solution for Abiay.
Well, on that note, it falls to me to thank you all for your attention and your questions, and to thank our two speakers for answering those questions so fully and frankly. Please join me in showing your appreciation.